Wow, what a result for Manchester United. Did I expect coming into this match reaction? Because I knew I was going to do a match reaction for this. But did I expect coming into this match reaction that Manchester United were going to absolutely go to town on Brighton? Probably not. I kind of thought this was going to be a red herring for Manchester United because Brighton have proved to be that type of team to really worry Manchester United. But they handled this very, very well. I mean, Brian Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha, Bruno Fernandes. I get a lot of, I get onto Bruno Fernandes a lot, but when he is on his game, he looks absolutely great. He's a good player. He's a good player. He just has his ups and his downs. But I want to talk about players like Brian Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha. In the summer, when Manchester United bought these players, I kind of thought, it was a bit much. I thought, one of Mbeumo or Cunha would have been okay. I didn't think they needed the two, mainly because they had Bruno Fernandes, who can play attack and mid, Mason Mount, Joshua Zirkzee. So I was kind of thinking it was a bit much to bring in two attack and midfielders when you're stacked in that position. But the quality these two players bring to a Manchester United side is undoubtedly very, very good. Because I think what Ruben Amorim wanted to do this season is outscore teams. I think a Ruben Amorim system is built to outscore teams. Again, I don't think today was Ruben Amorim football. Anyone who's going to be saying, United played Ruben Amorim football today, I think is going to be over exaggerating. I think it was, a good performance for Manchester United. Nothing crazy, just a really good performance that they can build on. But I think the inclusion of Brian Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha, Benjamin Sesko, Ruben Amorim did want a better striker than Sesko. But the inclusion of these three players was to outscore teams. And this is a tactic Barcelona used last season. They were able to outscore teams because if you're able to put 2 or 3 goals past a team every single game, it makes losing the game very difficult. Not a lot of teams can put 2 or 3 goals, score 2 or 3 goals in the game. So if you're capable to do that as a team, it makes you a very difficult team to beat. And I believe that's what Manchester United aimed to do this season, Ruben Amorim in particular. And, this match, is a good example of that because if you look at last season, Rasmus Højlund, Garnacho, Marcus Rashford, if you look at that front three, you kind of, they are going to get you goals. But from last season, I don't think those, that front three can get you the goals United scored today. Even in the second half, when Brighton, tried their best to get something in the game and they scored the 2 goals, things got a little bit shaky. But because they have the quality of players like Brian Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha, Bruno Fernandes, they can go on to kill the game, which Brian Mbeumo did with that really, really good goal. So I think it's a good approach. It's a good approach. Hopefully, United can build from this. That's the hope. Going into this game, I didn't watch the full game, but going into this game, because I was doing the watch along for the Napoli versus Inter Milan match. Very interesting game, by the way. If you want to check that out, make sure to do that. And if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. But that's by the by. I think, going into this game, Manchester United fans would probably have been concerned because in the past, they've won big games like Liverpool, and then they've gone on in the league to drop points, lose games, and put themselves in positions where they're like, oh, we're back again. We're back from the bottom. The win against Liverpool or the win against whatever big team that would have been at the time, it doesn't really matter. But to go and win against Liverpool, and get an emphatic win against Brighton is going to be a big morale boost to the players in the team. And you can see that connection. You can see that camaraderie in the team where players are hugging each other. Players are, really, really happy to be in the position that they are at the moment. And I think mentality, is a very, very big thing when a team that's in the position that Manchester United find themselves. I want to talk about a few players. I know I've talked about Matheus Cunha and Mbeumo, but Aiden Heaven, I think, should be starting some games for Manchester United. The few minutes he came onto the field for Luke Shaw on that left-hand side, he looked absolutely class. Really, really good player, Aiden Heaven. And I think he got the assist for Brian Mbeumo's goal. Really good player, Aiden Heaven. And I think if Ruben Amorim can get him more game time, I think he's going to be very, very important for Manchester United going forward. With Martinez coming back from injury, if his backup is, Aiden Heaven, and Luke Shaw is just, someone you can potentially bring into the game, I think Aiden Heaven is better than Luke Shaw this season. To be very honest with you, Luke Shaw has cost Manchester United some games, but I think Aiden Heaven is, a good replacement for him. Really, really good player. Sam Lamens, the goalkeeper. A goalkeeper is, as a Real Madrid fan, I have been saved a lot of times by Thibaut Courtois. He is a goalkeeper that I look at and say, you know what? He's going to make some good saves in a game that might help us out in terms of, keeping us in the game, basically getting us 3 points. When you have a goalkeeper like that, it not just instills confidence in the fans, as I was saying, but it instills confidence in the players. These are the people on the field. These are the people playing the football. So when you have a goalkeeper like that, it gives the team a sort of confidence. The 2 goals Brighton scored, no goalkeeper can do anything. Most goalkeepers are not going to do anything about it. Maybe the free kick, you say he probably should have done better, but it was a good free kick. The header to score the goal was a good header. He wasn't he was going to go and cover the near post Xerxes. He probably should have done better to do that. So he can't really do much about the 2 goals. But he's coming out for crosses to claim them. He's holding on to balls, not bouncing the ball around. It fills the team with confidence, especially that back line. So it's very, very big, very big confidence boost for Manchester United, Sam Lamens. But I think, overall, the Manchester United team, I think this was a perfect, a match made in heaven for Manchester United, because, let's talk about Brighton a little bit. Brighton are a team that you can kind of predict how they're going to play. They don't really have, big ambitions in the sense that they're going into games looking like, okay, we need to win this game to get to top 4 and do this and do this and do that. They just play a particular way no matter who they come up against. So with that in mind, you can kind of set, build your team around that and play to your strength and, to their weaknesses. And I think Brighton they're a high risk team. They're a high risk team that are going to pass the ball out from the back no matter who they're up against. They're going to play through the press no matter who they're up against. And Manchester United capitalized on that. And, Manchester United are very good at the press lately. If you've watched their games, they're very, very good when it comes to pressing the ball. And, they really benefited from that. So I think this was a match made in heaven. To be honest, I'm going to be real with you. I thought Manchester United were going to stumble. I'm very happy that they haven't stumbled, because I think you look at Ruben Amorim, he deserves that opportunity to get, a couple of wins under his belt, get the right players in and start to build his own system. I think Ruben Amorim deserves that opportunity. And I think players like Brian and Bremo Cunha, they deserve that opportunity to also try and make a name for themselves in Manchester United history. And I think they're going to do that. I really, really do. So it's a big win for Manchester United up against Nottingham Forest. Sean Dyche coming in to Nottingham Forest. It's going to be a tougher game. But I think if they can win that game against Nottingham Forest, to be honest, I've seen a lot of people saying the game against Tottenham Hotspur is going to be a banana slip for Manchester United, in the sense that they could go on and drop points there. I think Tottenham are up for grabs. From what I'm seeing from Tottenham this season, I think they're up for grabs. So if United can get the win against Nottingham Forest, put themselves in a good position, hopefully they don't get any major injuries, I think they could give Tottenham a good game, and they could get 5 wins in a row. And, it's going to lead to United Strand finally cutting his hair. It would be, I think the day he does that, he's going to feel very, very relieved. But it's a good game, good results from everyone. I'm trying to think of any other thing in the game that I missed. Again, I didn't watch the full game. I wasn't watching from minute 1 to minute 90. Probably if I did, I would have a lot more to say. But it puts United in a great position. This win, it does. I think they're in the top 4 now. I believe they are in the top 4. That's definitely what's going to be their aim this season. I really do think, if they want to progress and, go forward with Amorim and get him the support that he needs, they're going to have to get Champions League football or Europa League football going into next season. Actually, a player I want to talk about, Carlos Baliba. I'm kind of looking at him a little bit suspiciously now because last season, brilliant player. I think even last 2 seasons, brilliant player. The match I always remember of Carlos Baliba is the match against Manchester City Brighton last season, where I think Brighton were losing, I think 2-1. He came off the bench, single-handedly dominated that midfield, played very well, and got Brighton a draw. That's the game I watched Carlos Baliba and I said, this is the next Moises Caicedo. This is the next player that Brighton is going to sell. He's going to go to a big team and he's going to play very well. In the summer, Manchester United tried to go for the player. They're like, I think they approached him, did the whole contract stuff with him and everything. And Brighton basically said, we're not selling him. You can talk to him about contracts and stuff, but the money that we're going to be requesting, you guys are not going to be, they basically set 100 million offer for Brighton, for Manchester United to pay. Obviously, I mean, Manchester United don't have that kind of money yet. So he doesn't go. Fast forward into the season, he plays for Brighton and he is slowly declining. I mean, if you want to, let's have a look at his FootMob ratings since the season started. So let's have a look at Believers, average ratings this season. So Manchester City, he played 60 minutes, 6.2 rating. National team, he played 90 minutes. We're not going to look at national team. We're going to look at his performances against for Brighton. Against Bournemouth, he played 24 minutes, got subbed off, yellow card, 6.6 rating. Against Tottenham, he played the first half, didn't do anything, 6.2 rating. Against Barnsley is Barnsley. He didn't get a goal or an assist, 53 minutes, 7.0 rating. That's okay. Against Chelsea, 67 minutes, didn't really do much, 6.7 rating. Against Wolves, 45 minutes. Against Wolves, of all teams, 45 minutes, 7.0 rating. Against Newcastle, probably played a little better, 71 minutes, 7.1 rating. And against Manchester United, 59 minutes, 6.3 rating. He has gone downhill, progressively downhill as the season started. A few 2 games where he has played well, but he's still getting subbed off. Carlos Baliba last season doesn't get subbed off. He's a player that is not going to get subbed off. So I look at him and I'm like, if this is the mentality that he's showing at Brighton, imagine how he's going to be when things get tough at Manchester United. Let's say Manchester United do go in for him and, he's in a position where things are not going well in his first start for Manchester United. He's having a slow start at Manchester United. And then, the fans and how Manchester United fans are when players are not playing well. And things are not going well for Baliba at Manchester United. Is this how his mentality is going to drop? Because the pressure at Brighton and Manchester United, excuse me to say, it's night and day. The pressure between, at Manchester United and at Brighton. So I'm very concerned for him because if he's playing like this because he didn't get the move to Manchester United, it's going to get more difficult when you get to Manchester United. So yeah, you would expect when a player doesn't get their move to a team that they want to play in, you just be professional. It's not as if Manchester United paid 100 million and Brighton didn't want you to go. Manchester United didn't pay the 100 million. They didn't have the money to afford you. So you just be professional and then continue playing. But unfortunately for him, he doesn't have that professionalism in him to continue playing and doing, good for Brighton in the Premier League this season. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. As usual, any feedback from you guys would be greatly appreciated.